This is Pete Falcone, the voice of Speedway Video, and we're ready for a trip back in time. This is going to be a real treat to see some of the movies from the Art Russo collection from years ago. And Art, I think we probably should start out first by saying in this particular, these clips that we're seeing right now, you're not driving these cars, are you?
No, not by any means. I don't even remember this, although my father said that I was there. Was my father in that old Ford sedan 616, the Salem Motor Parts car. He started on the pole in that race. I don't really remember how he does finish.
What track are they running at now?
This is 1950 at West Peabody Speedway.
About 1950, West Peabody, which of course that's been closed for quite a while.
Yeah, there's a high school sitting there on that property right now.
And these cars that they're running, these are obviously 1940s vintage cars?
Yeah, mostly old Ford sedans and Ford coupes, a few Plymouths, and you'll see a couple of Chevrolets. I like the ambulance. Yeah,
I was going to say, they crash them just like they do today, that's for sure. Now, would this be one particular class?
They ran like 3 divisions all at the same time. They ran a 4-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, and an 8-cylinder. If you ran a 4-cylinder, you started up front, a 6-cylinder started in the middle, and the 8-cylinder started in the rear. They called them jalopies back then. They belonged to the Jalopy Association. I can't remember what the initials were.
Amazing some of these crashes these guys are taking, and they're climbing right out.
Oh, this guy right here, he went for a ride. I like the fact there when he takes and throws his helmet. I still see people do that today.
Yeah, he's not happy.
Yeah, he's lucky he wasn't hurt in this car right here. When it's moved back over, you can see it took one heck of a good hit in that telephone pole.
Oh boy, pushed the roof right in too. And of course, none of the elaborate safety equipment that we know today.
No, look at the tires, the narrow 16-inch tires. These cars you'll see them here, they'll spin out on the backstretch, and they'll just flip over just because the center of gravity was so high.
And there's an example of that. And the safety crew's over there, and boop, climbs right out. Now they'll flip that thing back up, and he'll probably be ready to run another race.
Oh, sure. A little oil, a little water, and they'll be back in time for the feature.
Now, Peabody Speedway was a quarter mile?
Yeah, it was like most of the early tracks of its time. They ran Peabody, they ran West Hudson, and the Pines. It was all one jalopy circuit there. I forget what the towing's off a little bit on that car, isn't it?
I think so.
It was all one circuit at the time, and I forget just what the association was.
Well, it looks like they got a good field of cars. How about some of the names? Any names we might recognize that ran this type of division back then?
Oh, I wish I brought some of my old Speedway scenes. They weren't Speedway scenes at the time. I forget what they call them, but Happy Gath from Tewksbury, and Spider Lubinsky from Peabody, and George Ricker from Hamilton. They came from all over, and they ran just as hard and just as tight as we do today, and they took it just as serious as we do today.
And they were probably running to, probably $50 to win the feature, probably, right?
It was probably $50 to win the feature, but there's my dad right there. I've got a clipping for the Labor Day race at West Peabody Speedway. They offered a $10,000 purse. $10,000 in 1950 for a purse is quite a bit of money.
That's something. Now, how about this car, the 616? What kind of car is that?
That's a Ford sedan, 2-door Ford sedan. That's their second car. The first car, which you saw earlier in the film, was maroon and white. This was the red and white 616. The first one got wrecked in a powder puff. They let some lady drive it in a powder puff, and she wrecked it.
Oh boy!
So this is the second car before the Chevy.
That's a good-looking car.
The next car you'll see is when they went to they finally gave up on the Ford and went to the Chevrolet.
is still West Peabody
Yep.
Speedway?
Yeah, all these are West Peabody. Look at the crowd, Labor Day weekend. No leaves on the trees, and everybody's got their hats and gloves and mittens on. This film isn't all of one day. This film, was a clip of different films throughout the whole season. Wow, what a ride that guy went for.
Oof.
Yeah, you can see there's a different ambulance in the picture here now than the first ambulance. This film took place throughout the whole season.
Plenty of action, that's for sure.
Not too much cement wall. They all went in those dirt banks. They thought, up and over. They thought that the dirt banks would slow them down, but boy, they sure went in for a sudden stop.
Oof, that's a sudden stop.
Three wide, 4 wide, 5 wide. How many are there? 3 there. Whoa.
Oh boy, he got hit in the roof while he was upside down and right back up.
Put him right back up.
Well, the old 616 seems to be getting around, that's for sure.
Yeah, missing some of the accidents. That's the main part.
Now, I suppose we should stress this really in the early days of stock cars, and you can kind of see the interior of the car there. It just basically took out the upholstery and they went racing.
Yeah, they put it the cars had one roll bar behind the driver's head, and as you can see by the helmet, no fire suit, no protection on the gloves or anything like that, just the helmet, and they put in the bucket seat and off they went. Now this here is Norwood Arena in the early 50s. And they ran a little bit more sophisticated car. They call it it's like a sportsman car or a modified car. You can see the tires are a little bigger, and they go a little faster. They're a little more sophisticated.
Norwood, another racetrack that is that went out. Oh boy, speaking of going out, they really hit. Norwood went out, I guess, would have been the early 70s.
Yeah, I forget what happened. Some developer bought the place or something. This was, I think this was 4th of July weekend.
Boy, and they got a crowd there, too. Yeah, as you say, they're a little more sophisticated, sort of.
Yeah, that car, that 42, that was the Litwin Brothers car. The Dynamite Special. The Litwin Brothers were out of Peabody or Salem or someplace like that over in that area.
These really are what gave birth to the full coupe stock cars of the 60s, I'm sure.
Yep, exactly. That's just where these cars evolved into the modifieds of today. The Red Cummings drove these cars, Wild Bill Slater, Freddie DeSaro, all the Flemke. That's where these guys started, in cars like these back then.
Incredible pictures too, considering that we're talking again. This is the 50s.
That's still Norwood Arena. Now they ran what they called was a 24-hour marathon down there in Norwood, and this is part of that 24-hour marathon. And the winner got a brand new Ford, plus I think it was $2,500 or something like that at the time. It was a lot of money for the time to win that amount of money plus the new Ford.
So it was a 24-hour race.
Around the clock. It started at noontime on Saturday and ended on noontime on noontime.
Yeah, that'd be noontime on Sunday.
Yeah, noontime on Sunday. Right, 24 hours.
Yeah, that's and amazing to think that now would they switch off drivers?
Gee, I really don't know. I just know that this is what my dad was telling me, that this is what they used to do, and the winner did get the new Ford. Oh, I don't know. Now we went to Hudson.
Now we're getting real sophisticated. Tell us about that car right there.
Yeah, that car right there is an Offenhauser powered sprint car. This is Hudson, 1971. And I bought that car from Oscar Ridlin, and come to find out the car's got all kinds of history. It's a 4-cylinder Offenhauser car that we ran with the Supers at Hudson. With Mike Murphy on the pole. That's myself in the sprint car.
Looks like the start of maybe a heat race. And the flag man, that was...
Yeah, that was Kenny Small. Used to jump, start him right on the track. A lot of times you had to back off and wait for Kenny to get out of the way. This is definitely a heat race at Hudson in the early 70s, 71.
Now, weren't really called super modifieds then. They were still the cut downs, and you were actually running an old sprint car there.
That's right. This is when the cut downs kind of evolved into supers. They were still what we call a Class A car, but the evolution hadn't quite completely taken place. As you can see, there was still some full body coupes, yet there were some cut downs and some. Oh, McLaren had an Indy type roadster that ran with us, and that's where the supers, the evolution came in this era right here.
I don't know that left front's ever hitting the track. Is it maybe going to the turn for a split second?
Yeah, it used to carry that left front 8 or 10 inches, but it would smoke like crazy going in the corners. It would just absolutely stop in midair sometimes. Yeah, that definitely is Kenny Small.
Checkered flag, safe to say you won that one.
Yeah, I think we had him covered there on that one. That was a pretty easy heat race. Okay, I know just what this is. This is Memorial Day weekend, 1971. And what Oscar did was took 33 cars, and we started 3 abreast. The fastest 33 cars started this race. A cars, B cars, C cars, whatever it took to make up the field.
Boy, and there is a whole mishmash of cars. Maybe you can tell us who some of those cars are.
Yeah, it was Paul Richardson started on the pole in the 427, and that 3 car is Forrest Dame's car, 3. The 91 is Eddie West, and myself in the sprint car right there on the outside. Then McLaren's right behind us in the 30 car, and then it's a bunch of Class B cars and Class C cars running with us at the same time. This is a 100-lap race at Hudson. Yeah, there's Paul Richardson and Jimmy Timmons 427 leading right there. I don't know who's driving Damie's 3. It might be Pizzuti, I believe, in the 3.
Yeah, it looks like you're making short work of these guys.
No, this isn't that easy. I hate to say it, you do get to the front, but it's a struggle. On the hard way.
Well, you must have been going through those left fronts pretty quick.
Oh, there's McLaren. McLaren just spun out right down there in the infield. Yeah, you just smoke those tires off. It never wore out from wear. It just wore out from dragging it into the corner. No, restart. We're under pressure now. Richardson right behind us. Westy right behind him.
What is that car that Richardson's driving?
That car was built with Jimmy Timmons and Paul Richardson, and I think they built that car over to Ray Harmony's garage in Danvers. It was one of the first roadsters in the area. He came right on the track. Imagine that stand there waving that caution flag.
Boy. another restart. And you've got Richardson right there with you, and Eddie West in the 91.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Westy in the 91. I think that's Buster Taylor's car, but I'm pretty sure that that Westy was driving it. I don't really know who's in that modified, that coupe right there, but they used to come up and run with us for the first half of the season. Bryce Haskell in the 213, and that's Eddie Santisi in the little 44. Those are Class B cars. Bob Bixby in that little 55 Chevy, 831.
This is a 100-lap feature?
I'm pretty sure it was a 100-lap feature, Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. He used to mix match and put them all together. As many cars as he could get, we'd all run together. Pretty good crowd. Did you notice the grandstand?
Not a bad crowd. Memorial Day weekend tends to be the big race weekend with Indy happening on the same weekend, and traditionally they've drawn some good-sized crowds at New England tracks.
Whoa, that's risky.
Yeah, I guess so.
Whew.
There's a checkered flag.
Yeah, it took a long time, all those cautions and everything else, but I guess we got that one.
There you go, in Victory Lane. Now, what did that pay?
Oh, $250, $280. It never was quite the same. They used to take 60% and 40% of the purse. I don't know. It never came out the same, but it was around $250, $300.
Going to let the crew take it in the pits. They're going to go savor the win in the grandstands.
Sure. Yeah, got to go talk to the fans. Oh, this is figure 8 racing at Hudson. One of Oscar's things here. That's my brother Charlie in the 22 car. Oh, 122 with a car belonged to Bob Dupre, but my brother Charlie used to drive it every now and then. Bixby in the 831.
Charlie got a little lost there, I guess.
Well, I think the motor died, so you just head for the high ground.
I think so. I don't know if there's a safe place in the infield during a figure 8 race.
Oh, this is the pits after the races, and everybody used to come down, and the kids would get in the car, and everybody would just hang around and see what was what. All the little kids always liked to. Oh, now we go opening day at Hudson. This is Easter Sunday at Hudson, 1967.
Wow. Needless to say, they had to plow the track, probably, right? This is the pits?
This is the pits.
I can see why they call it the pits.
We pitted in the infield. It was so snowy. That was the first cut down I ever built right there. I built that car from scratch.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the car, what it's powered with?
Oh, it's a small block Chevy 327, and it's made out of tubing, and it had to have a passenger car frame, and the 2 frame rails we got out of a Model A Ford at Greenberg's junkyard, and did the rest of it, put it all together. Now, that was opening day.
First time out with the car.
That's the first time the car had ever been on the racetrack, right?
Well, you get off the track, you're in a snowbank there.
There's water in the turns. If you look going into the 3rd turn right there, it's wet right all the way around that corner. White Warrior. That car was some drag car or something that, and Bryce Haskell, and I don't know who's in the 162, 29's Jerry Dolliver. Bryce Haskell in the 213, Mike Murphy in the 28. That 62 might be Dickie Cale. I'm pretty sure it is. That 99 car, now, that 99 car came from Norwood or Westboro or something. That was a Toy Town Auto Body car,
sure.
I think.
That was probably Bob Carvona.
That's who it was.
Out of Winchington,
That's
Mass.
that's just who it was.
Well, even on a wet track, Kenny Small starts him from the middle of the track and runs to the infield.
No, I guess we ran out of film. Didn't get that whole heat race. I don't know what happened there. But now we're back doing something else.
Now, did you have to push that to start it?
Nope. Started right up. Clutch, transmission, the whole 9 yards. That 7-Eleven car was one of Nemo's cars out of Beverly. Frank Pizzuti drove that. Look at the water on the left rear tire. Bob Devaney in that 222. Brownie, Howard Brown on the outside in that 7/8 car. Al Riley in the 50. This is the second week. You notice the snowbanks are gone, the track's dried off. This is the second week now. Now we're back in the regular pits, and you notice the snowbanks are still in the pits.
Yeah.
This is like the third or fourth week because now we've got the car painted. There's Mike Murphy in the 28. Al Riley in the 50. Old Brownie. Yep, this is the start of another heat race right there. Kenny Small right on the track. That's Sully Sullivan. Myself in second. And Pizzuti in third. I think that was Clay Smith in that goldish colored car. And Mike Murphy again, and Paul Richardson or Jerry Dolliver in the 29. It could have been either or. We're back in the pits in the mud again. Now we're back to week 2.
Yeah, this goes back.
Somehow the film must have got mismatched. That 41 car is Pete Hamilton, I'm pretty sure, from Norwood or Thompson or wherever. Stafford. Well, it was a NASCAR modified at the time.
Now, you seem pretty hunched over in that car.
I know, it was awful uncomfortable to drive that car. I guess when I wasn't thinking of comfort when I built it.
That 41 that we just saw spun, that's the car you're saying Pete Hamilton?
They came up and ran with us at the first couple of weeks. Pete Hamilton, Don McTavish in the Circle J car. And I don't see it right here, but I remember those guys coming up and running with us for first couple of weeks. That's Al Riley in the 50, Brownie in the 7/8 car. Bob Devaney in that 222.
Scraping the mud off before you get in the car. Boy, oh boy.
That's when we ran a full windshield and everything else in the car. This was a hamming up deal right here. They wanted to take a picture of me with a flag, so they took the picture and they put it in reverse and just backed right up and took another one. Ronnie Maccarell, Al Bennett. Al Bennett was the helper outer in the pits, and I can't even name half those guys. Charlie Barkley standing there in their old red hat. And that's Ike from up in Somersworth, New Hampshire, or Rochester, or wherever he was. He owned him, and Joe and Deuce owned Jerry Dolliver's car.
Back in the season again, because the car is painted in this shot, so a little further into that season. A lot of the same cars, and unfortunately, less people in the stands.
This is probably the third or fourth week into the season, right? And a few more cars have come out, and we're starting dead last in the rear. I don't know who's in that little 77 car.
Yeah, a good shot of the grandstands there. A few faithful few out for that Sunday afternoon.
I want to think this is like, later on in the year. It's probably like Mother's Day or something, and nobody came to the races on that day. I like that. The last restart we were in the rear, now this restart we're on the outside pole. I like that.
Good tight racing right there.
There's only 4 or 5 cars in this whole race, but everybody's running close.
Yeah, all pretty evenly matched. Did they have a rule book in these days? I mean, did you have a rule book to go by to build these?
Yeah, they had to have a passenger car frame. You couldn't go bigger than a 327 motor, and they gave you a wheelbase rule, and other than that, it was pretty much open. Oh, I remember this guy. This was a kid from Nashua, Connie Asnewski.
Ooh, he's out of it.
In the 1/8 guy, yeah, he was in there until after this race was over. They couldn't get him out at first. They left him there, and we finished up this little heat race, and then they pulled him out.
there he is. They're finally pulling the car out of there. That's off the backstretch?
That's about halfway down the backstretch. He just took a right-hand turn about halfway down the backstretch, and in it went.
And again, we'll remind everybody that we're watching these films transferred over to videotape these particular races at the Hudson Speedway.
Oh, this was a gear check. We decided we're going to change the gears. We didn't know too much about changing gears. This is the first time we had a for real quick change, so we changed the gears. Bryce Haskell decided he wanted to drive a super modified or a Class A car, so he was sitting in it to see if he could fit. That's Parky Parkhurst in one of Old Forrest Dame's cars. Got there late and pushed it off. This is when the starters and the watches were just about ready to give up. I mean, we did run them, and then some people ran them and some people didn't. And Parky's car didn't have a clutch in it at the time, but most all the other cars did. That was one of the requirements, I guess. But they had to push start that car, Parky's. This is probably the feature because all the cars are in it, and Mike Murphy's out front, or pretty close to the front. This looks like it's the start of the feature on the Sunday afternoon at Hudson. It's myself in the 616, Sully in the 444, Bryce in the 213, Mike Murphy up front in the 28 car. And Mike doesn't have the 28 anymore. He's now the M3 in the Pro Stocks. And I think it's Paul Richardson or Jerry Dolliver in the 29. Some weeks it was Paul, some weeks it was Jerry. It all depended.
Of course, you and Murphy and Richardson, you were just kids then.
Oh yeah, well Murphy, he was old. He was older. He's always been older than us, but yeah, we were. You know, I was only 17 or 18, so back then, I guess.
Still pretty wet there at Hudson too. Boy, you don't want to get in the infield, and then you're not going to come out of there really quick.
No, this definitely was still the beginning of the year. Probably 2 or 3 weeks in. It took a while to dry out, but after it dried out, it all grew up pretty quick in there.
Well, you're reeling them in.
Yeah, but this is like the second or third week. The first week we came in second. The second week we won. And the third week, I don't remember what happened then, but I know we didn't win again till mid-season. We went a long time before we put another checkerboard on the roof. I noticed there's only one on. Oh, now we're down at Groveland, in the middle of the sand pit, Pine Speedway.
All right, so now we're at another whole track. This is Pines in Groveland, another track that has gone by. And now, in a typical week, when would you run these tracks? You'd run Hudson on a Sunday, and
yeah, we would run here at Groveland on a Saturday night. Now, you won't see much of this because we were there early and warming up, and you'll just see a little bit of this because it was night racing, and my father we didn't have lights or anything as sophisticated as they have now for night racing, so there'll be very little of Groveland. We'd run Groveland on Saturday night and then Hudson on Sunday.
About what year would you say that? Same year, right?
Yeah, this is definitely the same year. That home got mixed-matched in between there. Must have been something that Dad had left over on the reel and just wanted to run it out.
another week at Hudson, and a lot of the same cars that were competing there every week.
All right, that 297 that I just passing on the inside right there, that's Mo Farmer. He raced with us quite a bit in that car, and then I built him a car very, very similar to mine, a cut down. This is a heat race at Hudson later on, and you can see that the infield's starting to dry up and it's starting to turn green.
Did you study these movies after you got them developed to see whether you needed to make any changes? Did you use them to your advantage or just as a souvenir?
No, we didn't never studied them. I wish we had. I could see all kinds of things we could have changed and a lot of things we could have done different. But no, my dad would take them, and we would look at them during the week. And oh wow, now we skipped a couple of years here. This is 1970 at Hudson with that was a real radical offset roadster that I built. It was only 36 inches tall. Had 14 inches of offset. And it was just, the car was built before it had tires to run. The car went real well, but it just was, the tires was the drawback on that car.
Wouldn't stick to the track.
Nope, with all the offset and everything else, the car just, it went good for what it was. That's Westy right in front of me right there. And in front of him is a 91 car, and that's Mo Farmer in the 297. And you notice that car's like that other car. I built that one. And the question mark car right there, that's Sammy's car.
Sammy escapes your memory at this point.
Sammy Sanborn.
All right.
And then Frank Conway in the 57. Jimmy Martell in the 22.
Pretty good field of cars there.
Again, this is early in the year. Mike Murphy in the 28. Bobby Whitcomb's brother, Eddie, on the outside pole in that maroon car, the maroon Deuce. Paul Richardson on the 27 right there. That's 427 actually. Westy on the inside, one of his famous moves. The last 20 feet of the straightaway and go for the inside. He always made those moves too.
Well, you got him back.
Yeah, but do or die, go right back up on the outside and go for it again.
About the driving styles. I mean, we can see you trying the outside, the inside. Strategy's the same.
I guess it's just get to the front as quick as you can. Not much different. You just had to manhandle the cars back then. There was no power steering back then. Whoop, slipped up. Westy back on the inside again. Yeah, you just drove them. More seat of the pants driving back then than it is now. Now you got power steering and all that fancy stuff.
Cars a little more evenly matched. I mean, Would you go to the track and have a bunch of different guys who could very well win the feature? Or?
Oh yeah, anybody could win. There wasn't too many people that dominated. Every night there was somebody different. Big jam up there. I don't know what happened, but everybody just jammed up.
And how about sophistication on these race cars? Could you still go to the junkyard and buy what you needed for them, or were you moving into the speed shops in these days with those cars?
Yep, this is when you first had the disc brakes and the quick change rear ends, but a lot of it still was home built. Most of our stuff was all homemade. The front ends were still the old Ford front ends, and the motors were right out of the crate. You take the motor out of the crate and bolt on, you put your high-performance camshaft and your tri-power on. Wasn't really all that sophisticated, but we had a lot of fun.
What about the tires? You probably weren't buying new tires every week, right?
Oh no, not every week, but that was one of the key things. If you had good tires, you'd run up front, so we bought a lot of tires, but not like today. You have to get a tire. Finally made that pass on the inside. That car went good on the inside, but it didn't go for beans on the outside. It took a while, but finally got by that car. We didn't win that one. That was the second spot. Oh, this was first quarter championships. We won the first quarter championships, got the trophy, got to kiss the trophy girl, but didn't win the race. Then we all relaxed afterwards.
That's right.
Now we just went back a year.
That's right. Back to the.
We're back to the upright again.
Yeah.
That Roadster that I built was 70 and 71. The upright we ran 67 and 68. Now that's Choppy Baldwin right behind me in that black car with a kind of fin tail. And I can't tell what that red car is, but I tell you that red car is number 5. That's Paul Richardson's car. Mo Farmer in front of us and Jimmy Martell.
Now, in that coupe, that would be like a NASCAR modified of that era, in that black coupe, and Jimmy Martell, of course, of the Martell Racing family.
Yeah, right. That's Scotty and Keithy's father, Jimmy, and that coupe belongs to Red McDonald, and Jimmy drove it.
And Red, of course, the owner of Lee Speedway.
Right. That's Red. Always had cars. He had cars that Jimmy Martell drove, Dick Noel drove. A lot of people have driven for Red McDonald.
And he had a NASCAR coupe. And where was he running that normally?
They used to take it and run down to Stafford on Friday nights and over at Thompson and wherever the coupes ran. I remember this feature, the fuel pump let go in the car and it died about halfway through the feature. And it would, every now and then it would pick up the fuel and then it would die again. So we just rode around the hoop and tried to pick up the tow money. Again, we lost the feature but won the championship. The car couldn't run, so we came out my brother's Charlie C car and picked up the trophy.
Oh, okay.
Now it was there. It was the win quarter champion, not winning the feature.
To pick up the championships, anyway.
Now we're later on. Yeah, that's the double L. That's Choppy Baldwin's car right there. We're later on in Al Riley's car in the 50. This is 1968, later on in the year.
think I actually saw a Chevy Nova there, starting inside the second row.
Right, now that car came from down south. I don't know, Thompson or Stafford or someplace.
Let's see, in the late 60s they ran cars like that. I know it's Seacon.
Well, maybe it was a Seacon car, correct. It very well could have been a Seacon car that came up. The reason it had to run with us is because it had a V, and they and the big tires wouldn't allow any car, so they were in with us. It was neat being a kid back then to beat those guys, Al Riley, Troppy Baldwin. When you know, those were the people to beat at the time. And when you beat one of those guys, you know, it's like running out front today. Coming up on that 1/8 car. Now, if you remember from earlier in the film, the 1/8 car was a maroon coupe that went down in the woods. Well, throughout the winter, I built another car and sold it to this guy, Connie, and that's the 1/8 car. The new 1/8 car. It cut me off going in the corner.
I was gonna say, slam that door going in.
But I think it pushed a little bit, so we got by him anyhow.
Yeah, he's got a little push.
Oh, red flag for something. He didn't red flag him very often unless he had to. It's Sammy Sanborn's question mark. Paul Richardson on the outside in the 5. Eddie Whitcomb and myself side by side. Watch Kenny go for it on the side. Right, start him right on the track and run.
Three wide. Uh-oh, something had to give there.
Yep. Couldn't quite make it. Ended up spun out in the infield. Had to start in the rear. This is a good restart, too. I remember this restart. Come from behind in a hurry.
I guess so. Boy, oh boy.
Oh, right around Al Riley on the outside the hard way. Took 2 laps, but we made it. Paul's out front, Whitcomb running second, myself third, Riley fourth.
You're catching him.
You know, I've seen this race 100 times, and I try, but I never get by him.
Big crowd there.
Full house crowd at Hudson. Look at that. Oh, we're back to 69 again now. This is time trials, 1969. Another one of those Memorial Day weekends. The fastest 33.
So they actually time trialed you to run that race.
Yep, and that's what he took. However many cars were in the pits, it took to make up 33 cars to start the race. That's where we started. Took the best of 2 laps. I don't know what happened to the race, but we won. I guess we must have missed the race on the video, but we won the race.
a good one to win in front of a big crowd like that.
Well, there's my brother Charlie's C car. He even got checkerboards on the roof. He was winning. Well, this is down at the shop where we worked. We changed the number from 616 to 81 because we're going to those. With all the old guys, whatever, and those guys. But we never got the race. It got rained out. We went there 3 times. That's Stafford. This is one of the few times that the Supers ran at Stafford. We came back from the Poconos from the snow and the rain and raced down to Stafford. This is 1970 or 71. You see Bentley in the Birdie's Deuce, I believe. Bentley and Ollie and Schofield and Brownie. My father didn't take these movies. My brother Charlie took them. You can tell the difference.
Well, it must have been a thrill to race at that track. That beautiful half mile at Stafford. And that was short-lived because it's a good start from Kenny Small right there. Boy, oh boy. And another wet day at Hudson.
This must have been around opening day 1970 because it is wet in there.
Coop's doing a good job of holding you guys off.
Again, that Coop, that's Jimmy Martell, and that's Westy on the outside in the 91 car. Buster Taylor's car. Oh, and this is a C-car race. We ran A, B's, and C's. My brother Charlie in the 22. Gene Trask in the 16.
Of course, back then these cars were a lot closer to
yeah, he wouldn't let you do anything hardly to him at all. We could put a big tire on the right side. That was all. One tire on the right front. We put a safety hub and a big tire on the right front. You couldn't lock the rear ends. The motor had to be 90% stock. My brother Charlie ran a 283 with a 2-barrel. I remember helping him build the motor on it, and that's what he did for a living. He raced that car all summer long, and that's where his money came from for the week. He used to win.
He was on the pole of that one.
You notice the yellow bumper? That was the rookie year. Later on, if we've got some films of it, he painted it red. Some years it was red. No more rookie bumper. Oscar, he used to pay to win the heats too. It wasn't an awful lot, but it'd be $15, $20, $25 to win the heat race. And for these C cars, it was around $100, $150 to win the feature. So you won heat on Saturday night at Groveland for $25, and the feature for $100. That was $125, and you went to Hudson the next day and won. You could could possibly come out of there with $250 for the weekend. The thing that made it even better is he paid you off in cash money, usually all dollar bills, so it looked like you had an awful lot of money for the week.
Yeah. Well, Charlie's getting around there.
Two to go.
Uh-oh. So much for the lead.
Well, didn't make much money this Sunday.
No.
We got 17 car, I think, tagged him one.
Interesting pace car they got there.
That's just what that was, too. It was some old antique that some guy brought out and wanted to pace the field with it that day. And that's just what he did.
Again, we're talking the late 60s here, probably 68.
Yep, that's 68. 68 we had Old English lettering on the car, and then in 67 we had round lettering on the car. That could be McLaren in the 3, as far as Dame's 3 right there. Again, it was early in the season. You could see that the infield's all wet, no grass or anything growing there again. Oh, that's that radical car that Mike Murphy and Joe Edwards built. He had to open the roof to get inside the car.
Wow. Well, we've been through all kinds of race cars at all kinds of racetracks through the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s just to prove that that was racing.